welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Sam Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. I really liked the last episode, a two-parter with Keith Johnson from 11 Imports and Dacopa Brands. Great interview about importing and all the challenges that come with importing and all that. It was a fun interview, and we tasted a couple of good wines, so that was fun. Now we're on to a Rioja. Now, this is not a super deep dive into Rioja. I'm looking at Riojas that are all under $20, which is really cool because I like to find good values in wine. So hopefully they show well. And the reason I'm doing Rioja is because I'm going to do a blind tasting of Rioja from, which the main grape is Tempranillo. We know that. Sometimes we put a little Graciano in there, but mostly Tempranillo. Tempranillo is really the king or queen or whatever you want to say of Spain. They use a lot of Tempranillo in Portugal as well. They call it Tinto Ruiz and Aragonés. But, you know, it's the main grape of Spain. And Rioja is one of the most famous wine producing areas in Spain. It's up north, fairly close to Basque Country. And they make some great wines. They have what they call a Joven wine, which is a young wine, so they produce these wines. I believe this is a Joven, even though it doesn't say so on the label. Then they will do a Crianza. A Crianza is a wine that is aged in oak for 1 year and then 1 year in bottle aging before it's released. Then they do what is a Reserva, which is 1 year in oak and 2 years in bottle before they release it, so actually 3 years from vintage. And then the Grand Reservas, which are probably the most expensive of the bunch, they are aged in oak for 2 years and then in bottle for 3, so they're not released for 5 years from the vintage. So that's an investment right there. But that's Rioja, and those terms they use like Reserva, Grand Reserva, all that, that means something in Spain. It means something in Europe, period. You start getting in the US and down in South America, those terms are not regulated. You can say Reserva this, Reserva that. It doesn't really mean that much. Whereas here they have regulations. They have to do certain things to call it that particular, give it that designation. Like the other day I tasted I think it said Grand Reserva or Reserva Rosé. I started laughing. What's a Reserva Rosé? It was from a Washington winery. It wasn't that good. But why put Reserva on a rosé of all things? I mean, you know, you press it, you release it, you drink it. Don't put Reserva on a rosé. I'm just saying. I'm not going to name the winery, but I thought I almost burst out laughing when I saw that. I said, that's craziness. Anyway, we are happy to know that when you're in Europe, usually the terms Reserva and in Spain Grand Reserva really do mean something, and you can understand why the pricing is the way it is. Really cool one, and this is kind of what sparked me off on this, is this one is called Rioja Alavesa. Now you don't see the subregions mentioned on the label very often, at least I haven't. I'm sure some of you have, some of you more experienced, maybe sommeliers have seen that, but I rarely see the region. So Alavesa is the northern part of Rioja proper, and it borders both Rioja Alta and Rioja Oriental, which used to be Rioja Baja. So those are the three areas. Now this is on the top of that. Consider some of the better Riojas come out of Rioja Alavesa. It's a higher elevation, about the same kind of elevation as Rioja Alta, which makes sense. Altitude, Alta, you get the idea. So I like to see that on the label. I've seen it a couple of times, but a lot of times I don't see that. So they don't often put the subregion. That's so really cool. That's what really kind of inspired me when I saw this. I go, you know what? I got to do a Rioja episode because I like Rioja. Rioja is a great barbecue wine. It's a great, if you get the right kind of Rioja and you recommend it to a new wine drinker that's trying to break into European wines, you know, if you get the right one, you can get some fantastic Rioja, and they're not super expensive. So we're going to go through these and find out what they are. I mentioned Rioja Alta being on the west side, and there's kind of a difference. Like in Rioja Oriental, which is on the east side, and my first thought was maybe they called it Oriental because it's on the east side. That used to be Rioja Baja. They mainly use Garnacha, which is also allowed in Rioja. And it's a drier, warmer climate, so you get some more smoother deeper, full-bodied wines from Rioja Oriental. Rioja Alavesa is mostly clay and limestone. A lot of people dig limestone soil. It's really good for the wines. I like it in limestone. And then you get over to Rioja Alta. It's mostly alluvial, iron, and clay soil. So there you have it. I'm going to do an actual blind episode comparing Tempranillo from Ribera del Duero versus Tempranillo from Rioja, because I've ran into some fantastic Tempranillo from Ribera del Duero, and they're very different, even though they're made from the same grape. So let's get started with the Monte Bueno Cuvée KPF Rioja Alavesa red wine 2021. This rolls in at $17. No doubt it's a Joven. Joven, they usually just release it right away. It's a, they hold it for a little bit. Generally don't put oak on it, so that's why you get the lower price. I've had some good Jovens. Not my favorite designation necessarily, but I'm excited to try this one. Monte Bueno Rioja from Alavesa. On the nose, you get a little bit of I'm definitely getting some cherry notes, a little bit of minerality. Even just slight kind of natural licorice, like Panda Bear licorice. Yeah, let's see what we get on the palate. Okay, there's a really nice, has a little spice to it. Fairly simple, little minerality. And if you want to introduce yourself to minerality as a wine drinker, this doesn't have too much. It's kind of balanced. Good acid that's balanced. It's a fruity wine. Really quite delicious. I get a little tobacco and a lot of cherry. A lot of cherry. Even like a little tiny splash of chocolate, and then it turns into kind of that powdered cocoa on the finish. $17. You want to get introduced to Rioja. You want to, you want to know what's Rioja Alavesa. Now you know it's up in the north, really close to Basque Country. Anyway, and it 2021 releases fairly quickly. A Joven does. It means young, and it's delicious. I think it's not super complex, but there's no flaws in this at all. It's a really delicious Rioja. I like the chocolate cherry kind of minerality, bed of minerality that comes out on the finish. The finish is decent to medium, good acidity, nicely integrated into the wine. I'm going to go B- on that. Solid wine. And that's an area, Alavesa, where they produce some of the better Rioja. I would think where Scala's up there. So, that's a really prominent area for producing Rioja, and therefore you get a good one, even though it's very young. So this is Bodega Montaña, Rioja, Vina La Valentina, Montaña, Rioja. This is a Crianza, which means that it has 1 year in oak and released a year later. So 2 years. This is a 2000 and, let's get vintage. I thought I had it nailed here. Vintage is, drum roll please. Come on now. It's got to be right here. I have the hardest time with Spanish labels sometimes because they put it in a funny place almost every time. Here it is, 2020, right there on the bottom on that little label, 2020 Montaña Rioja Crianza. Again, $17. So the cool thing about this, it doesn't tell you the sub-region that it's from. I suppose you could look it up, and it might tell you. But I've had this one before. I've been really excited about it for $17. Okay, color on this is fairly dark, a lot darker than the Joven. Let's see what we get on the nose. Now this Joven was 100% Tempranillo. This has a little Graciano in it. I get a little touch of funk, Some leather notes, definitely some cherry notes. There's definitely a funkiness on the nose, and but it's not off-putting. I mean, it's just, you can tell. Anyone that smells this, I don't care how long you've been drinking wine, if you just picked up a bottle of wine and you're saying, I want to try a Rioja, you would notice the funk on the nose. Cherries, leather, some kind of green pipe tobacco. Let's see what we get on the palate. The funk kind of comes through. It might be just a touch of Brett, maybe not. Brettanomyces, which is affected from certain things in the winery, but I'm not that opposed to a little bit of Brett. Doesn't bother me. This one has a little bit of that, but nice spice, round shoulders. I mean, this is a broad, luscious Rioja. It's really nice. I mean, no matter what about the funk, this has enough going on that you kind of forget about that. Those soft leather notes, kind of worn leather notes come through. A little minerality on the finish. The tannins are structured, but they're definitely approachable. I mean, they're not over the top powerful. I like the spice on the finish. You get kind of a little bit of a white pepper, black pepper spice. I'm not heading towards baking spice. Now, you're going to get more baking spices out of Rioja these days. Back in the day, they almost always used American oak, which kind of gave it a dill pickle sort of flavor. Now they're kind of working their way towards, they like to use French oak now, which would give it the kind of baking spice notes. I'm calling French oak on this one. Good balance, really a 10 in the delicious category. I'm going to go straight up A- on this one. I think, that little bit of funk is not in any way off-putting. In fact, you forget about it when you start drinking this baby because it is so good. And nice balance, good integration of acid, fruit, and tannins. It's just a beautiful Rioja, and it's $17. I hope it showed it to you. Sometimes I get so carried away sometimes, I forget to show the wine. So my apologies. And I'll have it in the subtitles what these are. Now let's move on. Now we're moving on to a Reserva. So this is 1 year in barrel and 2 years in bottle. So aged for 3 years from vintage, it can be released. This is a 2018 Carlos Sierras Reserva Rioja. And this rolls in at a whopping $19. There you go. $19. Good color on it, I can tell already. This is really cool. I mean, like I said, I'd like to see people break into Rioja. It's, like I said, it'll be fun to do the Rioja versus Ribera del Duero Tempranillos, just to show the difference in the two. This is super dark. I mean, like really on the dark. This is a dark side. This is a Seahawks defense dark. Just saying. Very dark. Let's see what we get on the nose. Black cleaner, no funk. Get some worn leather on this one as well as there's just a touch, but not much. Cherries, I might get a little dill on this one, which is interesting. Maybe not. Just it seems like it. Definitely dark cherry notes. Definitely an earthy element coming through. Minerality. A little bit of currants as well. Kind of meaty on the palate, if you want to know the truth. I get a sense of like meat, like not raw meat, but barely cooked meat on this one. All right, let's see what we get on the palate. Now this one, the funk really comes through on the back end of this one, a little bit. Yeah, you get kind of that barnyardy thing on the back side of this one, which is very interesting to me. I get a little bit of dill. I get some cherry notes and currant notes coming through front to finish. The acidity is nicely balanced. It's kind of juicy, almost not quite crunchy, but it's definitely juicy. The minerality is actually more powerful on this one than either of those. Then it has more age on it. It's more expensive because it's a Reserva. There's some spice notes coming through. This could use some more time in the cellar for sure. Seems to be a little youthful, which is surprising, but it is. The oak elements come through. You can taste the oak tannins on this one. The minerality is there. It's a good Crianza. $19. I would take this any day for $17 over this one. Just saying. That kind of funkiness that comes on the palate might be off-putting to some people. Now, there's some geeky guys out there that would say, oh, I really like that. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's not that bad. You start, and most of these guys are built for food anyway, because that's the way the Europeans do it. Everything is built to have with meals. We tend to make them cocktails sometimes. But for the money, I'm going to give this a B-. I just think it doesn't deliver for the money the way these other two did. Just saying. No, B- is still a good wine. You know that, right? There's a lot of us that would have liked to get B-s through our whole high school career, right? Good grade. Has a little peak on the mid palate. I'm going to stay with B- on this one. All three good Riojas, really. But I think this is the winner for sure. That's a really good value. And this is good. I think it just needs some more time in the cellar. I really do. I just feel it. There's so much structure in that wine. It could turn into an A- wine after a couple more years. I don't have that. I wouldn't grade it that way because I don't know. I'd have to wait and see. There you go. A little Rioja 101. Not too deep of a dive, but just a little bit so you understand what Rioja is all about. And hopefully when you go to buy one, hopefully the person you buy one from, you go into your store, be careful about picking out Rioja, because there are some Riojas that, if I were a beginning wine drinker and I drank them, I go, yuck, I don't want these. So be careful, make sure you have somebody that can lead you in the right direction, and you'll find some great Riojas, and they don't have to be super expensive. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see what's coming up. I got a lot of things coming up. I got a real interesting one on white wines coming up. So many things coming up. And I'm really trying to ramp it up this year so I have more content, but good content, things, because I am serious. I am very serious about helping you spend your wine dollars wisely. So you keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.